Welcome to the Systems Thinker Show. This is Season 6, Episode 55. And today, we're diving into something really powerful for improving team cultures. How understanding concepts from Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power can be a total game changer for your team's performance. But first, a huge thank you is in order. We're so grateful for our listeners in over 50 countries, and a special shout out to all the students in China tuning in from our case study website. Now, here's a quick request from us to you. If you get any value out of this, please consider subscribing or following. Fun fact, less than 20% of our listeners are actually subscribed. Hitting that button really helps us with the algorithm, you know? It lets us keep bringing you these deep dives into business culture. And hey, while you're at it, maybe share this with 10 friends or colleagues. We'd really appreciate it.
And just a reminder, this explainer ties right into the work we do in our business playbooks. There's Shift Happens, How to Lead with Purpose and Discipline Every Day. Then we have Culture by Design, Power by Discipline, Volume 1, and of course, the brand new Volume 2. You can find all three of them on Amazon and other online bookstores, whether you're in the US, the UK, Canada, Europe, Japan, or Australia.
All right, if you're the kind of person who really loves big flavor and, real craftsmanship, you gotta listen up. Today's sponsor is Crunch Time Gourmet Popcorn and Apples, right out of Bridgeport, West Virginia. Their whole motto is made fresh, made fun, made to crunch. And they mean it. We're talking gourmet popcorn and caramel apples made fresh daily. And their homemade caramel, it's the centerpiece of everything they do. It's this small batch, one-of-a-kind recipe. And the menu? Oh man, it's dangerous in the absolute best way possible. Think about this. Their caramel apples include flavors like Andes Mint Chocolate. That's a Granny Smith apple dipped in that amazing homemade caramel, covered in milk chocolate, and then rolled in crushed Andes Mint candy. Wow. And if you're more of a snack and stream kind of person, their movie theater butter popcorn brings that classic cinema vibe, super fluffy, rich, and just perfectly buttery. So whether you're sending a gift, stocking the office, planning an event, or even running a fundraiser, head on over to crunchtimewv.com. Shop now, and if you need fundraising or a food truck booking, just hit their contact page.
Okay, let's dive into today's main topic. It's a concept that I think is a complete game changer for team performance, and it comes straight from Robert Greene's 48th Law of Power: assume formlessness. We're going to explore exactly how this idea of disciplined flexibility, can take a culture that's rigid and brittle and totally transform it into one that actually thrives in chaos. So take a look at this. This diagram, man, it just nails the reality of modern strategy, doesn't it? You've got all these inputs, your own internal performance, what's happening in the external markets, all your past history, and then all these future possibilities, and they're all slamming together at a single decision point. It's basically a constant storm of information and change. It's complex, it's messy, and it is absolutely relentless.
And that brings us to the central question of this whole explainer. I mean, if our reality looks like that crazy complex diagram we just saw, why do so many of our organizations still operate as if the world is, static and predictable? Why do we still worship the fixed plan? Why do we cling to these rigid 5-year plans that are basically obsolete the second they come off the printer?
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down today. First, we'll tackle the rigidity trap. Then, we'll get into the formless principle itself. After that, we'll see formlessness in action with a great case study. We'll check in with what some of the top gurus have to say about adaptability. And finally, we'll give you your adaptive toolkit to take with you.
All right, first up, the rigidity trap. Let's start by really defining the problem here. Look, we all build systems and standard operating procedures for a good reason, right? We want consistency, we want quality. But what happens when that standardization goes too far, especially in a world that just refuses to stand still? Well, it becomes brittle.
And here's the core contrast laid out really clearly. On one side, you've got rigidity. It's predictable, sure, and standardized, but it's also brittle, slow to respond, and totally focused on compliance. On the other side, you've got formlessness, adaptive, flexible, resilient, quick to pivot, and focused on learning. This is the shift we're talking about right here.
Okay, let's move on and dig into the core principle itself. It's really important to get this right. This is not about promoting chaos. Not at all. It's about a really fundamental shift in how we think about control. It's about blending that high-level strategy with real, on-the-ground flexibility.
And here is the idea that kicked this whole thing off for us today. From Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, he says, "Those who are rigid and fixed are easy to predict and counter. By remaining formless and adaptable, you can respond to any situation with flexibility." I mean, the strategic advantage is just crystal clear, right?
If your competition, or heck, even just the marketplace, can predict your every single move, you are so easy to beat. But by being fluid, by being unpredictable, you hold the advantage. You can respond to literally whatever comes your way.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because we can take Green's idea of power and translate it into what we call modern leadership. This isn't about manipulation or anything like that. It's about building a collective capability. As you can see here, this idea of adaptive leadership is all about embracing uncertainty, truly empowering your teams, and actually expecting plans to change. It's about building trust. It's how you turn this principle of formlessness into a shared collective strength.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But does it actually work in the real world? Well, let's take a look. We're going to dive into a real-world manufacturing case study about a company that was facing tons of volatility and decided, you know what, we're done being brittle. We're going to start being fluid.
And this is the key. They didn't just put up a poster that said, "Be adaptable." No, they fundamentally changed their systems. They ditched the rigid annual plans and moved to rolling 2-week horizons. They pushed authority down, closer to the actual work. They created these cross-functional response cells, specifically to handle disruptions. They modeled adaptability from the top to build psychological safety, so people felt safe to pivot. And they invested heavily in multi-skilling their people for ultimate staffing flexibility.
So, what was the result? Well, the impact is huge. And this isn't just some feel-good story. Industry benchmarks show that manufacturing firms that use these kinds of adaptive cells, they recover from supply chain disruptions 30 to 50% faster than their rigid competitors. That's massive. And it doesn't even stop there. When you take this kind of thinking and apply it to the entire supply chain, using tools like control towers that let you switch scenarios on the fly, you see stockouts get reduced by a staggering 15 to 25%. The takeaway is simple. Flexibility delivers real, hard, bottom-line results.
Now you might be thinking, okay, this is a cool idea from one author, but the truth is, this principle of formlessness, or adaptability, echoes across the entire landscape of management thought. Seriously, many of the greatest minds out there have been circling this exact same core concept for decades.
Just look at this table. It's fascinating. Whether you call it shape-shifting tactics like Robert Greene does, or adaptive mental models like petersenge, or John Kotter's empowered execution, or even Lanier Johnson's disciplined adaptability, they're all pointing to the exact same truth. The future belongs to the flexible. The fact that all these different perspectives converge on this one idea, well, that's incredibly powerful.
Okay, so the big question is, how do we actually make this a reality? How do we take this big, powerful idea and turn it into a daily discipline for our frontline leaders? Well, let's get into a tangible tool you can start using, like tomorrow.
The way we do this is through something called a management operating system, or an MOS. And all that is just a set of routines your leaders use every day to run the business. And the core of an adaptive MOS checklist is built around creating that disciplined flexibility we talked about. You start with clear intent. What are the top priorities? Then you set the guardrails, the absolute non-negotiables like safety and quality. Then, and this is key, you identify your flex options, what can change. You clarify the authority, who makes the call, and you finish with a review, asking what changed and what did we learn.
And here it is, the whole thing on one page. A simple checklist a supervisor can use at the start of every single shift. This is so powerful because it forces the right conversation. What are we trying to achieve today? What are the absolute rules we cannot break? Where do we have freedom to move? And who has the authority to make the call? It even builds in a small daily experiment. This is how you turn a big, abstract principle into a concrete daily discipline on the shop floor.
So let's land the plane with this final thought. Formlessness. It is not disorder. It's not chaos. The most powerful, most resilient, and most successful cultures out there are the ones that can blend an unshakable clarity of purpose with an incredible freedom of method. Because the winning formula isn't chaos. The winning formula is and always will be disciplined flexibility.
And hey, one more time, please support our sponsors. This whole explainer was brought to you by Crunch Time Gourmet Popcorn and Apples from Bridgeport, West Virginia. Remember, they make that incredible gourmet popcorn and caramel apples with homemade caramel, all crafted in small batches. It's perfect for game day, movie night, gifts, or even just treating your team. Go shop all their flavors online at crunchtimewv.com. That's crunchtimewv.com. If you want any more information, please feel free to reach out to us on our website at karaswisher.com. And don't forget to check out our other podcast, The Continuous Improvement Lab, and find us over on our YouTube channel, Karas Innovations Group.
A huge thank you to our executive producer and founder, Lanier Johnson. Thanks so much for tuning in.